Hello, my name is Jay, and welcome back to my Tech Vault. And for 4,000 subscribers, I was lucky enough to be able to do a build for y'all, and this is by far one of my favorite builds that I've done. So first off, let's go over some of the specs. Then we'll skip to the part where we build it, and then we'll go over and I'll kind of give you a review of some of the best and the worst parts and some of my favorite parts in particular, some different components that I really enjoyed using. So first off, number one, this system is RGB, and y'all know that that's kind of my trademark, that I love to have systems that are very colorful but also not extremely expensive to do RGB, because that's a lot of the common misconceptions out there, is that when you do RGB it's going to be a couple $100s more, and in reality you don't need to spend but maybe, like, I don't know, $12 for the LED lights, maybe another $5 just for getting the RGB options on the RAM, and you're looking at pretty much $15 for something that makes your computer look a lot better, in my personal opinion. So, as I said, that's one of my trademarks, that I like to do systems that way. I like my systems that I build to look very nice, and so this, I'm actually building it for one of the viewers that watches my channel, so it's been really nice to have that opportunity, and let's get into it. So first off, this case right here is the Cooler Master T500, or I think it's the T500, and it's basically a case that has an option of the front panel can either be perforated or it can have a solid plastic cover, and I think me and the guy that I'm building this agree that it would be better if we just left the perforation on there, better airflow, etc., because I'm pretty much getting a breeze right now through the whole case, which is really nice. So also for airflow, this case does an amazing job when you have the perforated panel on there. Obviously when you have the plastic on there, the fans get really air starved and not necessarily the same amount of airflow. So what I really enjoyed doing for this system, let me see if I can move it a little bit so I can see it. So first off, we chose an AMD Ryzen 2700X. Why? Well, because the guy that I'm building this for wanted to do more of the workstation tasks. Obviously, he wanted the ability to do gaming. He wanted the ability to, crack open a game and have no issues. But also, he wanted the ability to do some of the torrenting, some of the other options, so that a lot of the CPU intensive, a lot of the hard drive intensive stuff. So basically, it ended up we picked the Ryzen 2700X just because of how great the cooler is, how it looks. Obviously, the cooler is really nice, and also we chose it just because it's got all those cores and threads, really good for what he was trying to do. So also another design aspect we were thinking about is he wanted to go liquid cooling route. And the liquid cooling would have been fine. Obviously, that's a substantially higher cost than it would be to do RGB. But we were thinking about that. We were thinking about going down that path. And obviously, since gaming is something that was his maybe the second most important task to him, we kind of decided from going from the 2060, especially with the budget of $1,500, instead of doing a 2060 and having liquid cooling, we went with a 2070 and no liquid cooling using the stock cooler. Now, obviously, it's really up to preference, but a lot of the things he was talking about was, of course, leaving the system on a lot. And when you leave a system on, especially, some of those tasks like torrenting that have a lot of, at one moment you're, using a lot of CPU, and not necessarily just torrenting, but some, like gaming and a lot of that stuff, he wanted to leave the system on and running and doing some of those tasks. And when you have something that's very CPU intensive 1 second, then cools down another second, you're not really using the system, and then you're leaving it on and off, you're pretty much leaving it on, and it's always switching in between having hot and cold. Liquid coolers especially have a lot of issue with stretching and eventually breaking. And so for the longevity of the system, we went on the air cooling route, and instead we put the liquid cooling money into the graphics card, which I personally think was a much better option because we still have the ability to add liquid cooling. The system has a lot of upgradability. But it also has the ability that if he does want to do that in the future, it's an option. But I think personally the AMD Stock Cooler is by far my favorite, and the Race Spire, I believe. Maybe, I don't remember the exact name of it, so forgive me on that. But it's by far one of my favorite coolers, especially because just how good it looks. Also, for, as I said, the graphics card, we went with the 2070, we went with the MSI Duke 2070, which obviously it has 3 fans, so for the way that we were talking about this, as I said, you plan to leave the system on a lot, so I wanted to choose a card that would keep things cool, but also be kind of quiet, since you don't want something that's super loud. And when you're leaving it on right now, it's really quiet. So obviously the GPU, we don't want to contribute to that, so it's really quiet as well. And then besides that, everything else was really just stuff that he picked out. So the way this worked is he actually picked out some of the components, mailed them to me, I built it, picked out the rest of the components, and I'm mailing this back to him. But I really did enjoy doing this. As I said, we have, for the motherboard, we went with the X470, trying to remember what it is. X470 Asus Prime Pro, and honestly that was a pick on his part. I got no problem with the motherboard, it was really nice. The RGB software from Asus is by far my favorite. It was a really nice choice there, because everything synced up immediately. It's not like MSI where you have to like tweak everything, or what is it, Gigabyte. They're the other ones that I've built systems with in the past using their components, and those are always a pain. I know ASRock has the same issue, but Asus did a really good job with when she plugged everything in. It had no problem whatsoever. The RAM, everything else was synced, so no issues there. As I said, we did go with them RGB strip. They're like 12 bucks. I did a video review on my favorite, and it's just something that makes the system look 10 times better. So that was the other thing, and everything synced up nicely. It looks really good, and I'm going to have at the end of this video a nice little showcase of like just the full RGB and stuff. But that is majority of the stuff. We went, of course, with the Trident Z RGB, because you're going with RGB, you gotta get the RGB RAM, and that was basically the majority of the design choices. So now I'm going to do what I usually do. I have a time lapse, and then we'll have more of the showcase when the time lapse is done, and then we'll come back and I'll kind of talk about just the, I guess, my favorite parts of this build, and some of the things that I would go against choosing different components. So, you know, in the future, if I was building with this again. So we'll get into that.
myself my name. Forgot about all you tried to change. Familiar was the sound of your voice as I continue to walk on by. It has been a year and now I'm living on the line. It has been a year and now I'm thinking what's mine, that I'm better off right here without you. That I'm better off right here without you. That I'm better off right here without you. Forgetful, I admit that I've lost my place. My memory's gone erased. Like a scratch, only the scar remains. For we are better apart from all the pain. Distant like the stars above. There's no love I cannot see. And in a moment, that's when I knew I'm better off right here without you. That I'm better off right here without you. That I'm better off right here without you.
I really like doing these videos. Why? Because first off, it's really fun to build a computer. The live streams we do are absolutely awesome. We get a lot of people in there. It's kind of a fun time, more of a chill, Q&A session, or just talking, me working. It's really fun. So if you're interested, there's information in the description if you want a computer built. But I wanted to talk about some of the good and bads of building. Now, obviously, all these components are fine, and for the person that's I'm building this for, don't freak out. Everything works fine. It's not an issue. But for the person that was building it, I've got to say this case by far is the most easiest case that I've ever had to build in. By 100%. This thing is the special spots to put the cables. Everything has been thought out. It was a really easy to build with. My favorite by far has been the power supply shroud. It comes off, no issues whatsoever. So absolutely kudos to them, because that was extremely smart. Made my building, 12 times easier. Took half the time to do the cable management. Cable management was almost even fun. So it was a really good. This case is, not necessarily my favorite case in the design and the style of it, but it is definitely very easy to build in. So that would be my review on that. The AMD Stock Cooler was a little weird to put in there. The instructions were a little unclear. I've never actually done one with the AMD stock. This in particular stock cooler, I've done I think 5 or so systems with the Ryzen 2600 or something cooler, but not this sucker. But anyway, still I managed to get on there, no problems there. RGB, trying RGB RAM, no issues there. G-Skill, no issues with you guys. The motherboard itself had a little bit of the issues with the RAM being supported. I don't know if that would be motherboard or CPU. Of course, there's been a lot of little discrepancies about what that actually is fault of. But the motherboard had a little bit of issues getting the RAM up to speed, so got the RAM up to speed, but still there was a couple stability issues I had to fix. So still, that was one of the things I had noted as well. The motherboard, little issues there. Everything else, honestly, went pretty well. Everything was pretty smooth. The EVGA power supply, they never have a problem. I recommend EVGA every single time. So just no problems there. The graphics card, oh yes, the graphics card. Whew. So, nothing wrong with the graphics card itself, but they decided to put a support bracket, which is understandable. You'd put a support bracket, especially when it's a long graphics card. And as you can see, there's no support bracket in here. And you put the support bracket in there, and it's supposed to, keep the graphics card from sagging. Okay. So when I put the support bracket in there, we'll just say that the graphics card's there. We'll just say this is the graphics card. We got the graphics card over here, this long little thing, and the support bracket comes and is supposed to support it on this side, keep it from the motherboard's over here, keep it from sagging. Well, only the thing is, the bracket hangs about maybe like 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters off the graphics card, and I understand that I could have been doing it wrong. I googled it. I was like, I hope I'm doing this wrong, because this is very crappy if it is. And sure enough, I was doing it 100% right. I even found the instructions. The bracket is absolutely useless, so I would recommend, if you are getting this for a bracket, find a different support bracket. But everything else is fine. Even without the support bracket, it's not even sagging really, so no issues there. I'm not shipping it this way, obviously, because I don't trust that big of a card to be bouncing around and shipping. But fair game. It was an interesting build process there. So I want to say thank you very much for the guy that let me build this. And it was a really fun experience. If you're interested in getting your computer built, you want to have a build on this channel. If you want to like the live stream, all that stuff, there's information in the description if that's what you. If not, I hope you just enjoyed the video today. Nice little build and a nice little showcase. I really like these kind of videos. And as always, thank you guys very, very much for watching. Thank you for 4,000 subscribers. This was something nice that was actually able to line up around that time, which was a good special as well. And thank you very much, guys, for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and goodbye.